UK. Do you think this will be a spanner in the works of the ongoing FTA talks? Will we overshoot the deadline?
Okay. Huh? Related to that? Okay, related, I'll take it first. So it's easier. I'll come back to you. Let me start.
Raza from Hindustan Times. The same thing, I mean, the UK Home Secretary making these remarks about how a trade deal could lead to greater immigration from India, and which is what she opposes. I mean, basically that seems to negate the whole thing about mobility of professionals and students. And also the fact that, you know, she claims that India has the highest number of visa overstayers. Do the facts and figures kind of bear that out?
Okay. Somebody else had a hand. Aapka tha pehle. I'll come back to you. I'll take another.
सर मैं कविता जोशी हूँ हरिभूमि न्यूज़पेपर से। सर मेरा सवाल ये है कि अभी कुछ दिन पहले चीन के जो राजदूत हैं भारत में, उन्होंने LAC विवाद को लेकर के एक दावा किया है कि विवाद अब खत्म हो चुका है और भारत और चीन के बीच में जो हालात हैं, परिस्थितियाँ हैं LAC पर, वो सामान्य हो गई हैं। तो इस पर मतलब विदेश मंत्रालय का क्या कहना है? क्या आप उनके दावे से सहमत हैं? ऐसा भारत भी मानता है?
जी. Anything related? I'll come back another round, perhaps related to this. Okay, I'll take that one.
So this is Manas from PTA. So what is the status of FTA talks between India and UK? Because there are indications that we'll be closing it very soon. So in fact, will these comments in fact put any spanner on the ongoing talks? And what is the overall status now?
Okay. Look, let me try to take one round of these questions and I'll come back for another round. Look, let me start with the case, a very, very unfortunate case in the US. शैलेंद्र, आपने पूछा था इसके बारे में. देखिए, ये बहुत दुखद घटना है. इसके बारे में आपने देखा ही होगा, रिपोर्टिंग कुछ की है. हमारे कॉन्सुलेट जनरल जो सैन फ्रांसिस्को में, उन्होंने भी कल शाम को उनके टाइम पे एक ट्वीट निकाला है कि वो उसको इस सिचुएशन को कांटेक्ट में है उनके फैमिलीज़ के साथ. हमारी तरफ से हम यही कह सकते हैं कि हाँ, हम इसके बारे में अवगत तो हैं ही. और जो मर्सेट काउंटी उसका नाम है कैलिफोर्निया में, उनके पुलिस अधिकारी सक्रिय रूप से इस अपराध की जांच कर रहे हैं. और सैन फ्रांसिस्को में हमारा जो दूतावास है वो घटनाक्रम का फॉलोअप तो कर ही रहे हैं, कांटेक्ट में है, फैमिली के साथ भी कांटेक्ट में है और इस संपर्क में हम हैं. और जो भी सहायता हम कर सकते हैं हम प्रदान करते रहेंगे इस तरह से. अभी इसके बारे में अभी भी ये ऑनगोइंग चल रहा है इन्वेस्टिगेशन, तो इसके बारे में और मैं कहना नहीं चाहूँगा. पर हम ये बहुत शॉकिंग इंसिडेंट है और जितना हम कर सकते हैं काउंसलर साइड से हम करेंगे. मूविंग ऑन टू Siddhant, you had a query on the Pakistan issue. Look, this is an ongoing problem, but what we understand is that there have been increasing number of deaths of fishermen in the recent time. 6 Indian prisoners of fishermen, I think 5 of them were fishermen, have died in Pakistani custody in the last 9 months or so. All 6 of them, interestingly, had completed their sentences, but they were what we would call as illegally detained by Pakistan despite completing their sentences and in spite of multiple demands from Indian side for their release and repatriation. This increasing incidence of death of Indian prisoners is alarming and raises the question of their safety and security in Pakistani jails. The matter has been raised by our High Commission in Islamabad as well as with the Pakistani High Commission here. And we would like to reiterate that Pakistan is duty bound to ensure the safety and security of all Indian prisoners in its custody. And we request the Pakistan government once again to release and repatriate all Indian prisoners immediately. There were a series of questions on the FTA. Look, we've discussed this in the past a bit, so let me pick up from that in terms of a deadline, or I think somebody said what is the status. As we have said before, I think there is interest on both sides to conclude the FTA at the earliest. I think there was a mention about what's the status. I think you asked right now, Manas, right, on that. So yes, we need to, there is interest on both sides. I think Diwali was set as a goal, but that's a goal. I understand that intensive discussions are underway on towards this and it's continuing. Of course, as regards the current status of negotiations or any specific deadline, look, I'll have to refer you to the actual negotiators, which is in fact from the Ministry of Commerce and the team, interagency team that heads this. So on that I wouldn't like to get into it. But to say that yes, I think there is interest. When it will finally happen, of course, it depends on negotiations are like that. As regards the comments, I would like to get to the comments by UK Home Secretary, which I saw only as a media report. But just to perhaps mention that, look, all negotiations are a part of give and take, and there are elements that it needs to be a win-win for both sides. So I think I wouldn't like to get into what people say, perhaps for domestic, perspectives. I don't have data on overstayers or otherwise. I'm not even sure I'd be able to comment on overstays. But whenever there's an Indian citizen abroad, we always strongly encourage legal migration, and if they need to come back, they will come back. But yes, there is a process for that, to have people come back and establish the identity and other elements. So I wouldn't like to comment on that. In any case, I think our High Commission has issued a statement in this regard, which probably has more details regarding this issue. The migration mobility is an important element, and there was an understanding in this regard, which we would expect certainly that both sides would honor it, and we certainly are taking action on our elements, and we would expect the UK side to also show, as our High Commission said, demonstrable actions on that. I'll leave that. I think that covers what Yashi was saying, as well as I think Reza, you had asked, and of course Manas, as I said. Regarding the, आपने कविता जी आपने पूछा था इसके बारे में LSE के नॉर्मल सी, देखिए मैं इसमें टिप्पणी नॉर्मली कोई हाई कमिश्नर करते हैं या उनके एम्बेसडर करते हैं, मैं इसमें इतना नहीं कहना चाहूँगा. मैं सिर्फ इतना हम जो कह रहे हैं, हमारा जो जिस तरह से हम देखते हैं वहाँ के डेवलपमेंट्स ऑन द LSE, इसके बारे में तो आप जानते ही हैं. हमने कह रखा है कि डिसएंगेजमेंट, डीएस्केलेशन, इस तरह के क्या स्टेप्स होने चाहिए. हमारे एक्सटर्नल अफेयर्स मिनिस्टर ने भी इसमें कमेंट किया था, इनफैक्ट उनके फॉरेन मिनिस्टर भी आए, तब भी हम यही कह रहे हैं, पूरी नॉर्मलसी के लिए कुछ स्टेप्स ज़रूरी हैं. वहाँ तो हम बिल्कुल नहीं पहुँचे हैं, पर हम चाहेंगे कि वो पूरा सीक्वेंस रहता है कि डिसएंगेजमेंट हो जाए, डीएस्केलेशन हो, फिर बॉर्डर पे नॉर्मलसी हो, ताकि हमारे ओवरऑल रिलेशनशिप में कोई रेगुलरिटी या नॉर्मलसी जो आ पाए. अभी वहाँ तक नहीं पहुँचे. अभी हाल ही में आपने देखा होगा हमारे सीनियर वरिष्ठ अधिकारियों ने यही कहा है कि वो, तो आई थिंक ऐसा कहना करेक्ट नहीं होगा. सिचुएशन अभी उस तरह से मैं उसको नहीं कहना चाहूँगा कि नॉर्मल है. इसमें कुछ पॉजिटिव स्टेप्स हुए हैं, पर अभी भी कुछ और स्टेप्स बाकी हैं. EM ने जैसे कहा था, रिसेंट जो डिसएंगेजमेंट PP15 से हुई थी, वाज अनदर स्टेप. Okay, next round of questions. I saw your hand. I'll come back to you guys. Yeah, please.
Good evening, sir. I am Anil Singh from INS. सर मेरा पहला सवाल है,
एक सवाल से शुरू करें.
सर, उइगर अत्याचारों पर चीन के खिलाफ UNHRC के प्रस्ताव से भारत क्यों दूर रहा?
क्यों दूर रहा?
जी सर. एब्स्टेन.
अच्छा, नहीं, मैं जस्ट चेक कर रहा हूँ आप क्या पूछ रहे हैं. हम वहीं थे, आप दूर नहीं थे. हम वो रेजोल्यूशन की बात कर रहे हैं UNHRC में. जी समझ गया. ओके.
सर, माय सेकंड क्वेश्चन इज, जिनेवा में UNHRC से पहली बार कश्मीर के आतंकी पीड़ितों ने प्रतिनिधित्व किया. क्या आपको लगता है कि कश्मीर में आतंकवाद में पाकिस्तान की संलिप्तता के बारे में सच्चाई सामने लाने में यह भारत के मामले को वैश्विक मंचों पर मजबूत बनाएगा? क्या रिएक्शन है आपका?
जी. Well, no, before I saw some hands this side, please, ma'am. I'll come back to you.
Sir, Meghna from DD News. So there have been reports, there has been a student of Indian origin in Purdue University who has been murdered, and the report suggests that he has been murdered by his roommate. So do we have any details on it, or are we in touch with the student or his family? If you like, I have another question as well.
You had a rule for one. Okay.
Sir, there have been also reports of fake job brackets from Cambodia. So what is the update on it? Are more people into it, and as well?
Cambodia specifically,
Cambodia specifically. Also, MEA has given details of the agents who are operating from India. So has there been any response from the states that has come?
Okay. So who else had a hand up? Okay, I'll come back to you. I'll just come back.
Sir, Shudhiranjan from the Bloomberg, sir. We are getting reports about the Paris Club approaching India and China on Sri Lanka's debt restructuring. Could you give us an understanding as to India's stand and if there are any hurdles?
On the debt restructure?
Yes, sir.
Fair enough.
कादम्बिनी शर्मा फ्रॉम एनडीटीवी इंडिया। म्यांमार में जो आईटी प्रोफेशनल्स फंसे हुए हैं उनके नंबर्स क्या हैं, क्योंकि कुछ लोग जो वापस आए हैं वो कह रहे हैं कि उनमें देयर आर सम वुमेन एज वेल, और करीब 300 to 500
पहले अपने क्या कितने कुछ लोग जो आए हैं वो क्या कह रहे हैं?
300 to 500 मोर आईटी प्रोफेशनल्स आर स्टक देयर। तो बाकी जिन देशों की आपने बात की है अपने एडवाइजरी में, लाओस, कंबोडिया की, तो वहाँ पर कितने लोग फंसे हुए हैं, कोई ब्रेकअप आपके पास है?
Okay, that's somebody. Okay, Suhasini, go ahead.
This is Suhasini. I'm sorry you can't see me. I'm very low chair. I have a question on India-US relations, which has 3 parts to it, and you have to forgive me, we haven't had a briefing for 2 weeks, so some of it may be dated, but it's important.
Okay.
The first is, has India protested the United States' sanctions against an Indian company on Iran oil imports, which are unilateral sanctions? Was this discussed with the EAM when he was in Washington? Because it was announced practically as he was leaving Washington. Mr. Blinken had spoken about it as well.
Okay.
The second question also is on the F-16s. We saw...
It's a very different question, but anyway. Okay.
No, it's all part of the India-US. I can't help it if you don't have a briefing.
Okay, F-16s. Okay.
On the F-16s, in the EM's presence, Mr. Blinken said that Pakistan has only used its F-16s for counter-terror operations. Obviously, this is counter to what India has stated when it comes to the post-Balakot operations. And my question is, was there any counter presented to the US before or after that particular statement was made in the EM's presence, particularly with regard to Pakistan's use of the F-16s? And the third is a more recent one. The US ambassador to Pakistan has visited Pakistan's occupied Kashmir, but he's referred to it repeatedly as Azad, Jammu and Kashmir. Does the MEA have a comment?
Okay, let me take this round and I'll come back to another set of it. Let me start actually with, Meghna, your question on that. Look, this is another incident, a very unfortunate incident. Again, I'm not sure how much we're following this as closely, in the sense that I think the perpetrator has been arrested. Also, we're just checking. I think he's a US national, but nevertheless, given the links to India, if there's anything we can do, we will assist. We are, of course, keeping an eye out on developments of that very sad story there. On the fake job, there was your question also, as well as I think, Kadambini, you mentioned about the issue of Myanmar, and you mentioned Cambodia. Look, I think there have been multiple things. We discussed this a couple of weeks ago during our presser, and I'll try to link both of that. With this incident, actually, on the Myanmar side, we certainly have been looking at it. We have issued advisories. Our embassies in Yangon as well as in Bangkok have issued advisories. We issued an advisory, I think, on the 24th, where we highlighted the risk. And I would like to reiterate this strongly here to people who are watching. Look, be extremely careful what kind of dubious job offers that you accept, because once you are stuck there, it gets very difficult to bring you back safely. We will try our best. So this is just a word of caution. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true. In specific terms, on Cambodia, you mentioned, on Cambodia, look, I think our mission there has been putting out as people are being rescued. I think about 80 odd people have been rescued over the last few weeks, months maybe. Of course, we don't know exactly how many are there, because this is A, an evolving number, and B, if we knew, we would be able to get them out easier in Cambodia. But I think our mission had that broad number of people, 70 or 80 people had been pulled out, rescued there, and they came back into Thailand, I think. I think that may be a mix of Laos and Cambodia, but Cambodia has been, I think we yesterday also highlighted some photographs and stuff. No, as I was saying, that's Laos and Cambodia. So these are nothing to do with Myanmar. Okay, so they're talking about a different set of people. Okay, so I'll have to just check exactly how many from which place. But I think we had this problem on the Laos border. We had this problem on the Cambodia. But Cambodia, I think, was 70 or 80 of what I spoke to our ambassador yesterday, and we had that number. म्यांमार के बारे में आपने पूछा था. वहाँ पे हमने ज़्यादा इन्फॉर्मेशन पहले आपसे साझा कर चुके हैं. देखिए, वहाँ पे भी इस तरह के फ्रॉड ऑफर्स आते हैं इंडियन सिटीजन्स को. मियावाड़ी एरिया में है. वहाँ से हमें करीब 50 लोग अभी रेस्क्यू हो चुके हैं. 45 आई थिंक मैंने अभी देखा कि 49 आई थिंक नंबर 45 निकल कहा था और 3-4 और लोग निकल आए हैं, कोई 49 है। अब कुछ लोग वहाँ से निकल गए हैं कैप्टिविटी से, पर म्यांमार अथॉरिटीज़ के साथ पुलिस के पास हैं क्योंकि वो इलीगली एंटर किए थे, और उसके लिए भी हम कोशिश जारी है कि वो वापस आ पाएँ या उनको भी हम ले आएँ। वो अवैध प्रवेश के लिए जो प्रक्रिया करनी पड़ती है वो कर रहे हैं। इसके अलावा कुछ और लोग हैं जो ऑब्वियसली अभी भी मतलब कैप्टिविटी में हैं। इसका एग्जैक्ट नंबर मेरे पास नहीं है, 300 से 500 मैंने भी पढ़ा कहीं से कि कोई MEA का ऑफिशियल कह रहा है। मैं भी जानना चाहता हूँ कौन कह रहा है, आप लोग अगर जाने तो बता दें, मेरे पास तो ऐसा कोई नंबर नहीं है। कुछ होंगी, कुछ लोगों ने हमसे कांटेक्ट किया, मैं नंबर और नाम नहीं देना चाहता हूँ क्योंकि उनका परिस्थिति के कारण वो भी कांटेक्ट में है हमारे एम्बेसी के साथ, पर उनको भी हम कोशिश कर रहे हैं उनको निकालने की। बट 300 की तरह नहीं है, कम नंबर है उस तरह से। पर हमें डर ये है कि वो बढ़ता रहता है बीच बीच में, क्योंकि और लोग जा रहे हैं थाईलैंड में और फिर ऐसे कोई ग्रुप के कंट्रोल में आ जाते हैं, फिर फंस जाते हैं उधर। इसीलिए मेरा यही गुजारिश था सबसे कि आप ऐसे कोई रिक्वेस्ट हो या कोई आप जॉब ऑफर देख रहे हैं जिसको ठीक न लगे या आपने अच्छी तरह कॉन्टैक्ट चेक नहीं किया हो, आप उसको एक्सेप्ट मत कीजिएगा। तो इसी चक्कर में आप फंस जाएंगे कभी। कुछ ऐसे ऑफर्स हो, लाओस और कंबोडिया में ऐसे ऑपरेशंस चल रहे हैं। म्यांमार स्पेसिफिक में मैंने जैसे कहा करीब 50 के लोग निकल आए हैं, और भी कुछ हम संपर्क में हैं कुछ भारतीयों से जो वहाँ अटके हुए हैं। ऑन द Sudhi, your question on Paris Club, your question was Paris Club, but let me make perhaps a more general comment on Sri Lanka and how we approach it. I think that would be a safer way of looking at it. We had talked about, you would have seen a statement from our, I think, a High Commission, and I think it was last month, about the middle of the month, had issued a statement regarding its meeting with the Sri Lankan side, I think it was 16th of September, wherein India's support for early conclusion and approval of a suitable IMF program was conveyed. And subsequently, our High Commissioner then attended what is called the Ambassadors Forum, was organized by the government of Sri Lanka, under, I think, the chairmanship of the President himself of Sri Lanka on the 22nd of September. And relevant authorities, entities from India attended the subsequent virtual meeting, again organized by the Sri Lankan side on September 23rd. Look, I think we are in close touch with the relevant Sri Lankan stakeholders. I think it would require all the major donors or creditors to work together on that. And that's why I think this IMF restructuring plan, and we are supportive of that. So I'll leave it at that, because I think this is a part of the discussions that are going on. I don't have a particular comment on the Paris Club part, but again, I think larger restructuring with IMF led is probably something that we have been aware of and are in touch. So hopefully that will, our support to an early conclusion approval of a suitable IMF program for Sri Lanka, for which financing assurances from creditors to make Sri Lanka's debt sustainable would be required. Suhasini, on India, Sri Lanka, India, US, which I'll take as 3 different questions. I'm to be very honest. I don't know which one to start off. On the US sanctions, let me. That's the first one you had, right? Look, I think you are referring to a specific Indian entity. There was a press release from the US side. That is a private company. That US entity that you referred to is a private company. And this is a new development, and we are looking into it. You asked whether this issue was come up during EM's visit to Washington. No, the subject did not come up during that conversation. On the F-16 elements, I think, you've seen some statements out. I think the US side made some clarifications subsequently after that. I think one of their senior officials was here. He made some comments in one interview here. But I would basically say that, look, our views on this issue are very well known to the US side on our concerns and views on F-16s for counterterrorism operations. As regards the US ambassador to Pakistan, his recent visit and his comments to Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, let me just confirm that, yes, our objection to the visit and meetings in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir by the US ambassador to Pakistan has been conveyed to the US side. Okay, moving on. Any further questions? Yeah, sorry, you had a few questions. You had a hand up? I'll come to you. Which one? I'll come back to it. Let me just take the questions.
Sir, thanks now. Is WMCC
likely to happen in a few days. And secondly, we've heard of 40% of Pakistan being flooded. Has that had any impact on infiltration?
Okay. WMCC, when you wanted? When, or is it happening? Which way is the question? Is okay. The 1 second I had Abhishek.
Sir, my question, Abhishek from CNN News 18. Sir, my question is regarding Indian students who have been stuck in India, those who are studying in Chinese universities. No, not many of visas are being issued by Chinese authorities, though they are allowing more students from other countries to visit China and attend their colleges. And also, there is a situation where the direct flights are not available. So, these matters have been raised earlier with the Chinese authorities. So, what is any update on that?
Okay, who had a hand up? You, and then I'll come to you. Yeah. You also. Microphone.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Shashank Matu with the Mint. The Russian Parliament is going ahead with its annexation of Ukrainian territories, and the PR, our PR to the UN basically said that India was very deeply disturbed by the developments in Ukraine. This has also come after President Putin promised the Prime Minister that Russia would look into India's concerns about the Ukraine war. Does this annexation of territory change India's position in any way? How are we looking at things as they evolve?
Annexation. Okay. And there was one more hand. Yeah, Nanima, go ahead.
Nanima from the Print. Just wanted to understand what is it that we are planning to actually do with the Afghan students who are waiting for the visas for past over 1 year. Apparently, some of them have gotten letters from ICCR that their admission has been cancelled because they could not reach the universities. They've been also protesting in front of the Indian embassy in Kabul. So if you can give us an update on that. Thank you.
Okay, somebody had a hand up. Okay, yeah, and they'll take the last one there.
Rishabh from Times Network. Sir, on the India abstaining from voting at UNHCR, you have an answer. I would like to have an answer on that.
Didn't I say apologies? Did I miss that?
No, you missed it.
Sorry, Anil ne पूछा था. Apologies. I thought I've done all of that. I'll come back to you. Okay. That is the UNHCR, right? आपने दोनों question पूछे थे. Okay. Who had a hand up? Okay, let me take this question because I'm missing one of them. Okay. एक तो आपने पूछा था क्या हिंदी में किसने पूछा था कौन सा? हाँ. देखिए जो मैं अभी कह रहा था आपको उनको अभी जैसे कहा यूएस एम्बेसडर अभी उनका जो अभी गए थे वो पीओके में पीओजेके में पाकिस्तान ऑक्युपाइड जम्मू कश्मीर में. तो इसमें हमारी जो ऑब्जेक्शंस हैं और इसके विज़िट के बारे में और उनके मीटिंग्स के बारे में ये हमने यूएस साइड को कन्वे कर दिया है. और ये आप यही चाहते थे ना उसमें. और आपने पूछा था हमारे पहला जो आपका प्रश्न था ना, सॉरी अनिल, आपका मुझे आंसर करना चाहिए था तब. इस बार अभी यूएनएचआरसी सेशन चल रही है वहाँ पे, और यूएनएचआरसी सेशन में हमने अभी कुछ रेजोल्यूशंस पे वोटिंग हुई है, आपने देखा होगा. आपने उनमें से एक में पूछा है. मैं उसमें सिर्फ यही कहना चाहूँगा कि हमारे उस वाले वोट के हमने श्रीलंका वाला तो आपने तो श्रीलंका वाले भी आप जानना चाहते थे. यू वांटेड द उइगुर वन और द श्रीलंका वन? ओके, सो देन लेट मी स्टिक टू दैट वन. ऑन दैट लेट मी जस्ट से जैसे हम कह रहे थे कि हमने भारत सभी मानवाधिकारों को अपहोल्ड करने के लिए प्रतिबद्ध है. भारत का वोट उसकी लंबे समय के चली आ रही पोजीशन के अनुरूप है कि कंट्री स्पेसिफिक प्रस्ताव कभी मददगार नहीं होते हैं. भारत ऐसे मुद्दों से निपटने के लिए बातचीत के पक्षधर है. और हमने सिंगजियांग उइगुर ऑटोनोमस रीजन में मानवाधिकारों की चिंताओं के संबंधित जो OHCHR की रिपोर्ट थी उसका आकलन पर गौर किया है. और सिंगजियांग उइगुर ऑटोनोमस रीजन के लोगों के मानवीय अधिकारों का सम्मान किया जाना चाहिए और उनकी जो मानवाधिकार को गारंटी या रिस्पेक्ट करना चाहिए, इस पे जोर देना चाहिए. हमें उम्मीद है कि संबंधित पक्ष स्थिति को निष्पक्ष और ठीक रूप से संबोधित करेंगे. I know you will want it in English, so let me say it in English right now. India remains committed to upholding all human rights. India's vote at the UNHRC was in line with its long-held position that country-specific resolutions are never helpful. India favors a dialogue to deal with such issues. We have taken note of the OHCHR assessment of human rights concerns in Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region of the People's Republic of China. The human rights of the people of Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region should be respected and guaranteed. We hope that the relevant party will address the situation objectively and properly. आपने ये भी पूछा था अनिल कि वहाँ पे जो टेररिस्ट के विक्टिम्स हैं वो यूएनएचआरसी में बोला था इससे हमारा कोई पोजीशन हाँ देखिए हम टेररिज्म इस तरह से बात करते हैं कोई बड़े डिस्पैशनेटली दूर तरफ से आई थिंक डायरेक्टली सुनना जो विक्टिम्स हैं उनसे फ़र्क पड़ता है और हमें अच्छा स्टेप है कि उनको वो काउंसिल इसको सुन पाए डायरेक्टली टेररिज्म के विक्टिम्स का. इससे क्या इम्पैक्ट होगा वो तो मैं अभी प्रिजज नहीं कर सकता हूँ पर ये इम्पॉर्टेंट है कि एक ह्यूमन फेस दिया जाए टेररिज्म के विक्टिम्स को सिर्फ नंबर्स या आंकड़े न रहे. आई थिंक मूविंग ऑन टू द क्वेश्चंस ऑन दिस राउंड I would say to the WMCC question, when it's there, we will announce it. I don't have anything to share right now. On the 40% infiltration and the 40% underwater infiltration, look, I'm not the expert on these numbers. You'll have to ask our security agencies. I would only reiterate our position that, we would like to see a change in the ground situation where terrorism and infiltration and these elements are reduced. Or ideally, so that Pakistan can take necessary action in that regard. Abhishek, you asked about the Chinese visas for Indian students. This has been an issue that we have been discussing with the Chinese side. I would like to just say that, as you are aware, that as I mentioned, that both in here and in Beijing, we have been raising this matter. I think the Chinese embassy in August announced that I think effective 24th of August, it would be accepting visa applications from Indian students wishing to return to China for their studies. As far as we are aware, as per information, the return of Indian students to China is now underway. Our mission in Beijing has continued to press and pursue with the Chinese side for completing the necessary formalities, enabling our students' return to China at an early date. I would advise our students to stay in touch with their universities for carrying out procedures for obtaining a visa and returning to China. Our mission and our consulates in China stand ready to respond to the students' requests for advice or facilitation to the best of their capacity, whatever our missions can do. So I hope that we will see positive movement on this issue. आपने I think आपने पूछा था on the issue of the Russian, rather on the annexation element, right, on the latest one. Look, on this I would refer to our explanation of vote in the UN Security Council on a resolution that happened just after the issue of the referendum. India's position has been clear and consistent from the very beginning of this conflict. The global order is anchored on the principles of the UN Charter, international law, and respect sovereignty and territorial integrity of all states. Our vote on any resolution is made keeping in mind the totality of the situation and the text of the resolution, and we have already made this a detailed explanation of vote on 30th September, so I would refer you to that. Regarding Nanima on the issue of your Afghan, look, visa is an issue that I must confess is more held, completely dealt by the Ministry of Home Affairs, to be honest. This process, as you know, we have an e-visa mechanism going on. We have a technical team there, but that is not a full-fledged embassy that is doing the visa. I know there have been representations, etc., from Afghan students who would like a visa, but I think External Affairs Minister made a comment here, I think a few days ago, when he talked about trust and security issues there, which would enable the situation to issue visas there. I don't think I have anything further to add to that. Rishabh, I answered your question, right? Okay. I think that's it. Okay, you have, go ahead. Microphone. Anybody else? Okay, you have first. You have a mic there, go ahead. Just give me a second.
सर कनाडा में मैं ये बहुत दिनों से हम देख रहे हैं
Introduce
सोशल
कर ले
मीडिया
record के लिए.
सर विजयलक्ष्मी हूँ इंडिया टीवी से.
I know.
सर कनाडा में जो सिख फॉर जस्टिस है 7 नवंबर को वो रेफरेंडम करा रहे हैं वहाँ पर इंडिपेंडेंस पंजाब के लिए, इंडिपेंडेंट पंजाब के लिए. इस पर क्या भारत सरकार वहाँ अथॉरिटी से बात करेगी? क्योंकि पहली बार नहीं है, ऐसा पहले भी हुआ है और सिख फॉर जस्टिस लगातार भारत विरोधी गतिविधियाँ वहाँ पर कर रहा है.
Kalur from the Hindu. There are reports from Iran that over the last 4 weeks, widespread human rights violations have taken place. Young women have been murdered in police custody. There are, sports figures who are being hunted by the police. Has India voted, asking for independent investigation in the death of Mahsa Amini at the UNHRC? And what is India's position in general about the uprising that's taking place in Iran over the last several weeks?
Okay, no other. We'll close it at that. Okay. देखिए SFJ और आपने ये सो कॉल्ड रेफरेंडम की बात की. मैंने इसमें एक ऑलरेडी हमारे तरफ से एक स्टेटमेंट पिछली बार हमने दिया था और मेरे पास अभी एडिशनल कुछ कहने के लिए नहीं है एक्सेप्ट कि ऐसे डेवलपमेंट्स, ऑब्जेक्शनेबल डेवलपमेंट्स हों कनाडा में. हमें इसमें बहुत खेद है कि ऐसे चीज़ें अलाउ की जा रही हैं एक फ्रेंडली कंट्री में. हमने ये पिछली बार भी दोहराया था. आई थिंक इसका कोई पार्ट 2 कह रहे हैं इसका. हमने ये इशू हमारे जो कंसर्न्स है ये तो ऑब्वियसली कैनेडियन गवर्नमेंट को डिफरेंट लेवल्स कन्वे कर चुके हैं. हम अपेक्षा करते हैं कि ऐसे डेवलपमेंट्स या ऐसे एक्टिविटीज़ ना हो. हमने एडवाइजरी भी इशू की है कि एंटी इंडिया एक्टिविटीज़ किस तरह से बढ़ रही हैं उस देश में और कितना रिस्क हो सकता है हमारे इंडियंस को ऐसे चीज़ों में. आप जैसे जानते हैं हमें भूलना नहीं चाहिए किस तरह से वायलेंस हुआ था. कनिष्का बॉम्बिंग भी इसी तरह के गतिविधियों, एंटी इंडिया गतिविधियों से कैसे लिंक हो सकती हैं, पहले हो चुकी हैं. और SFJ के बारे में तो आप जानते ही हैं कि वो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन बैंड है हमने बैंड कर रखा है. Kalol, on your issue, look, I don't have any specific comment to share on your query. I don't think we have said anything on this in the HRC, and on the overall thing, I don't have an immediate response to you or any specific comment on that. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for joining this media briefing.
तो आप देख रहे थे विदेश मंत्रालय की प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस. विदेश मंत्रालय के प्रवक्ता अरिंदम बागची इस प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस को संबोधित कर रहे थे.